Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is quite then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
Welcome back, everybody. We've got a couple of great shows going to come up tonight. First, I'd like to introduce Carl Lehrburger, Carell, as he prefers to go by right now. He is coming to us from Colorado at his work, where it's purehemptech.com or purevisiontechnology.com are the two sites where you can find out more information about where he works there, where industrial hemp. And he is also going to be talking to us about his book, which is Secrets of Ancient America, Archaeoastronomy, and the Legacy of the Phoenicians, Celts, and Other Forgotten Explorers. You can find also more information about that at newhistoryofamerica.com, his website. Check that out. Fantastic book. I got the PDF of that, and I was reading through that. And I don't know if we'll get into a whole lot of it, but I'm going to tell you, it's just one of those. I feel like I was cheated as I was growing up because, man, just the part alone on Christopher Columbus. Yep, there's a book. Yeah, it was eye opening. Just for that part alone.
It's a good one.
Well, welcome to the show, Carell. How are you, sir? Carell. I was already correct.
Oh, thank you so much. And
just went right off of
it. Well, I'll just say that we got 2.5 beards tonight, and I'm very honored to be part of the Three Beards podcast, and a warm welcome to Three Beards viewers and listeners.
I'd love to have you here, man. That's one of those. As we were going through this, just some of the things that you're in, especially since you're there at work. We'll talk about Secrets of America here, probably in the latter portion of the show here, because he's at work. So why don't we just break into that right there? What would you say was your biggest, driving force? The thing that made you really have this passion about industrial hemp and the uses and the benefits that this actually has to society that has been lost through generations that have basically been taught this is a Schedule I narcotic, that, we can't touch this stuff. This is dangerous. This will kill you. This is heroin. So I'll let you go for there.
Well, thank you. And there is a segue between the archaeology and archaeoastronomy and my work with biomass and hemp. And it is that we've all been lied to from day one. And we continue to be lied to. And whether we're talking about our history and who discovered America or not, or whether we're talking about the benefits of plant-based economies and plant-based medicines, we've just been given a big lie. So part of my work has been to really dissect those lies, try to get to the heart of the matter, whether it be our history. But in the case of our world today, we live in a world dominated by fossil fuels, pollution, and greed. And those in the renewable energy sector are really doing our best to replace really hazardous technologies that are not just polluting the planet, but are killing the planet with plant-based solutions. So 25 years ago, I created Pure Vision Technology with my brother, Ed Lehrburger. And we, with the help of an MIT scientist, developed a new technology, a completely new technology that can replace oil refineries by using biomass, which is non-food plant material, instead of oil. And it's been a 25-year quest to scale up the technology and to be able to get it to the point where we can deploy it, where it makes economic sense to the big corporate players of the world. So unlike most companies that have really been through the hard times of struggle against the fossil fuel industries, we have persevered, and our technology has persevered. And we have made the jump to hemp because hemp stalks is a form of biomass. And the hemp industry in Colorado got started in 2014 when it became legal. And we really had a lot of action here in Colorado and of course, other states as they legalized industrial hemp in the last 5 years. But in nearly every state where where hemp is being produced, the stalks are being thrown away. The supply chain for CBD type hemp is very well established, and every state in the country now it's legal to have hemp grown and hemp products. So we have a very rich supply chain. And in fact, I just this weekend was at the largest industrial hemp trade show in the world. And unlike the early years of our industry, which were completely dominated by the CBDs and the medicinal aspects of the industrial hemp found in the flowers, we're really seeing great strides being made by both large and small companies at being able to use the hemp stalk for thousands, and I could easily say tens of thousands of applications, ranging from what we call in the industry the high-hanging fruit, which is using the stalks to make textile-grade fibers, all the way to making chemicals, to making food products, to making building products, and all sorts of different type of plastics as well. So the incentive to get into hemp was based on what we see as a total waste of the hemp stalk, and to take advantage of the really growing interest in both plant-based as well as cannabis-based agriculture. You know, when we talk about hemp or cannabis, what we like to talk about is full hemp utilization. So we're not just talking about using the flowers. We're not just talking about growing the grain or the seeds, which are one of the most nutritious foods on the planet, but we're also talking about the stalks. And the stalks can be the basis of really an industrial revolution, a plant-based revolution. And as an example of that, finally, after decades, we're seeing large companies, including car companies, beginning to take interest in using hemp in their bumpers and in their building products. So it's a great time. It's been a long struggle. We in the hemp industry see the light. And especially with increased legalization and getting rid of these incredibly draconian laws, there's incredible opportunities for value-added agriculture, as well as replacing some of these most polluting technologies on the planet with plant-based technologies. So that really got me excited about it, and our focus at Pure Hemp Technology is to take the hemp stalks and produce hemp pulp to make many different kind of hemp paper products. So for all you wannabe hempsters out there, check us out at Pure Hemp Technology. That's www.purehemptech. And beyond hemp, because hemp is just a very small part of the biomass on the planet. We need to be using the wheat straws, the corn stovers, the leftover sugarcane residues, and turning those into valuable, not only value-added products for the farmers, but valuable products for humanity. So let's go plant-based, everybody.
Yeah, I said I definitely didn't want to break in there, because I agree completely. I just moved down here to Florida 3 years ago, so I born and raised in Oregon, and so where they're in Central Oregon, they really took off with the industrial hemp. Friends of mine, they started their own business. They converted some of their hay fields into hemp fields. And so they just started growing industrial hemp. And so he was bringing on people, anybody that they could get for extra people, because when it came to harvest time, you've got to get all, because there's this quick window. I mean, you should know it in Colorado. There is a quick window where premium growing, it goes right there, and then all of a sudden, massive freeze. And if you wait too long, it's pretty much, you've lost a lot of the value in some of the material because it's been frozen, and so there was just that quick, got to harvest it. And I really learned a lot about what you were talking about, just all these these products that can be made from this mess, because everybody, as soon as you hear hemp, the first thing that pops in your head, hippies, getting stoned, all you're doing is smoking, walking around with a beaded thing around your neck with beads, using hemp string, and that's what you think of hemp. But then you don't realize you can basically make a car, although like you said, the car parts, the pin, you can have your pin and stuff like that. And you could be doing that out of hemp products. And a lot of people, as you do that, people are like, oh my God, I didn't realize this. And that's what's really cool. And that's what I was
here's
really
a
looking
shout
forward to
out to
about.
all the people in Oregon. Here's a shout out, Craig, to all the people in Oregon. I lived in Oregon for many years and have a lot of friends there. So thank you for bringing that up. And also thank you for bringing up the point about the growers. It's been a tough 4 or 5 years for most growers, learning the ropes, dealing with locusts, dealing with rains and mold and freeze. So the early growers that got into this are really the heroes and the pioneers. And that's why we're so strong on value-added agriculture and whole hemp utilization. And you also make a great point, about, hey, this is a hippy dippy thing. But I'm here to tell Three Beards, and I'm here to tell your audience that it's not the hippies or the yippies or anyone that's really knocking on the door big time, except the big companies are seeing the light. And I can tell you that we, and I've been doing this for 25 years, are finally seeing some of the big corporate movers and shakers in America taking a very hard look at using industrial hemp in their products. So I think it's going to pay off for the farmers that have paid their dues, and the small business people and entrepreneurs and scientists that have been working on this for forever. So thank you for those great words, Craig.
Oh, do you think that's going to be something that's going to help get Washington's attention and maybe get some of this stuff changing? Is the fact that now you've got the bigger dollar players, the ones that actually line, we'll say, so we don't line pockets, when they try
allegedly.
to get, we got to make sure we put the allegedly. Do you think that's going to really make this ball move now that like you said, you've got the big money players starting to take notice?
I think, Washington did their job in the Farm Bill, and they gave the states the go-ahead to legalize it and to grow hemp. I'd like to see Washington really focus on the bigger picture of the climate change issues now that will come back as a priority in America. And that's also a driver for these large companies, because they got a free ride under the Trump administration regarding climate change and any kind of penalties for destroying the planet. I think that's going to change, and the companies that are see the writing on the wall are the ones that are being the movers and the shakers. But like so many cases about Washington, it's about priorities and then getting them out of the way. Mm-hmm. And we've done our work, and now we know what the cultivars are to grow. We know how to process the material. We know what the end products are. We just need the money and the infrastructure to scale up these technologies so that we can provide these hemp intermediate for the car companies, the building material companies, the fuel companies. And so we're at that point now where bring on the financing people, because we're ready to go.
You answered my question pretty much.
And one more thing about your point. Yeah. Just let me ask one more point. When we talk about when we talk about industrial hemp, let's not forget that industrial CBDs, hemp that you produce seeds out of, they're all part of the cannabis family, this incredible, miraculous plant. And there are thousands of our fellow brothers and sisters in jail today for whatever they did. They smoked a doobie, they smoked a roach, they got a little something in their car, whatever. So we can't, as this thing goes corporate, we can't forget, it's not just whole hemp utilization, but it's really the miraculous plant and all the wonderful things that it's bringing, not just our industrial society with industrial products, but medicinal products for healing. Yeah, and that includes marijuana. So let's all keep that in mind. And we've made so much progress with getting it legal after they made it illegal to grow hemp in 1937. But we still have some work to do on legalizing cannabis and getting our brothers and sisters out of jail.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Austin, no, you had your thing, Austin?
Yeah, you kind of answered my question. One of my two questions. Well, the first one was, how long does it take to grow the hemp? And the second question, you kind of answered it. You said you can make bumpers and they're already working on it. Is there a possibility we can run our vehicles off of hemp? It's always the back and forth, oil, electric. Yeah. Hemp seems like, I mean, we're literally, we can produce hemp. Why can't we just run our cars off of hemp?
Right. Well, yeah, as to your first question, one of the great things about hemp, unlike trees, is that it grows in 6 months. And so if you're using trees to make paper and take down the forest like they're doing in the Amazon, so that we can have paper to throw away, that's how we're running the planet. But industrial hemp grows in 6 months. Some of the like seed varieties will take a little longer. So it's a total renewable resource. And again, whole hemp utilization, the seeds to nutrition, the flowers to medicinals, the stalk to industrial products. And your second question, Austin, was?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you said they're working on making bumpers and car parts. Why can't we just run off of hemp? I mean, we're always fighting over making complete electric, or we're fighting over oil. I mean, like you said, it takes 6 months to produce this. We need to run off the hemp. I mean, it's better for the environment and it doesn't hurt us.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Right. So, we at Pure Hemp Technology, we're big practicers of reusable and recyclable. And so when, we can make a disposable paper cup out of hemp, and yay. Or, we can really talk about reuse. We can talk about recycling. So you can't really do that when you talk about fuel. And I may not be in sync with a lot of people in our industry, but I personally think that it's a total waste to take a precious resource, whether it's oil or hemp, and burn it up in an internal combustion engine at a 30% efficiency. So for example, we have people, companies coming to us and say, hey, can you make fuel out of hemp stalks? And the answer is absolutely. It's called ethanol, and there are other fuels, but we don't see that as the highest value. However, having said that, we are talking to several companies now who do see the value and want to use our technology to make alcohol out of hemp stalks. And if that's the way they want to go with it as a short-term solution, that's much better than taking oil from the Middle East or taking oil from Canada and putting chemicals in it so it flows through pipelines. So that's certainly going to be better. But when it comes to our transportation sector, we've really got to get beyond the internal combustion engine. And, you know, thank goodness, like hemp came back around from 1937. So is the electric car, and that's a part of the solution. But everybody's got to know, and everybody's got to realize that if you have an electric car, say in Arizona, and you're getting your electricity from those four-corner coal-fired power plants, you ain't doing anybody any good.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny place. Go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
Oh, since we're just talking about agriculture, did you start becoming aware of the hemp farm and industry when you were in major trips to South America, Central America? You know, what kind of farms would Americans be looking to buy? Is there a little bit of a difference? Do you want something on a hillside, flat, with where water's going to be, could lay on the soil a little bit longer than on a hillside? Like, what is the optimal type farmland in America?
You can grow hemp in Alaska. You can grow hemp in South America. There isn't a place, I don't think, in North America where you can't grow hemp. And that's one of the most beautiful things about it. Now, obviously, speaking of Oregon, Craig, Oregon is perhaps the most prolific place that I've seen where hemp grows, partly because of the volcanic soil and partly because of the microculture in Oregon. But we talked to growers from Vermont, we talked to growers from Michigan, we talked to growers from Florida. Each state will have a different situation as it relates to its climate, the kind of pests they have, the kind of soil they have. So really, hemp can be grown anywhere, and that's one of the greatest things about it. Quite often, though, when you look at it from an industrial scale, and you say, well, where's the best place to grow? What side of the hill to grow on? And those are not really the big questions. The questions are, where are the markets for our hemp products, our hemp seeds, our hemp stalks? Stalks are very bulky, so you don't want to have to ship them a long way. So many people in the industry say, hey, I've got a 2,000-acre farm, let's put a biorefinery here. That may not be the best idea. Why don't we put the biorefinery where the markets are and grow hemp around that? Now, that's not to say that the first example grower is out to lunch. No, because we can put smaller refineries perhaps near him. But the answer to the question is hemp is so prolific and it's such a miraculous plant that it doesn't take much water and it practically grows everywhere. Having said that, it's not easy to be a grower. And we got to put our hats off to the pioneers, growers who really learned the hard lessons of not only what varieties to grow, but how to do it and not lose your shorts.
Yeah, my dog's on hemp right now. We got calming chews. It's like he's all he gets all itchy. He's sitting there gnawing on his feet. So we got these containers. So they're these hemp calming chews. And so he loves them. So I give him 3 of those. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh, is my little buddy stoned? And his eyes are just like back and he's just laying there. And people are like, there's no THC in them. There's a fraction. But when you're talking like to a dog, I've like, even just that little tiny bit, he's just like, he's just laying there and you can see his eyes are just kind of droopy and you're like, oh, there you go, buddy.
That's the problem I have with it though, is like I have friends that smoke weed. I have friends that drink alcohol. I drank alcohol a couple times. I feel like ass the next day from drinking alcohol, even if it's a little bit. And my friends that smoke weed are fine in the next couple hours, and it relieves the pain. You hear stories all the time how hemp, CBD, even just CBD gummies help you relax in your thing. But it's illegal. But alcohol, you can drink as much as you want and drive. But weed, it's like, no, it's still illegal. I can't stand it.
Who's going to make the hemp distillery? That's what I want to know.
Well, let's change those. Let's change those laws. And in terms of a distillery, let me get something for you. So stand by.
I just think as he's going too. I'm looking at his website. It's paper, man. Hemp paper. Oh, what is that?
Yeah, see? There we go.
Hemp beer.
Okay.
Nice. So yeah, let's go there. But
can we do a whiskey out of hemp?
Again, that's even easier. But you got to get those hemp sugars out, and that's the technology of the advanced technologies of not just being able to make CBDs, but actually to get the sugars out of the stalks, so you can ferment it into gin, rum, and bourbon.
I mean, like you just said, we're tearing down trees in the rainforest that took years upon years to build. Hemp takes 6 months, and we can make paper products, car parts, and we're not doing it. Like, we need to get more out into the world with this. This is incredible. Jesus.
Yeah, let's
hear Austin.
Yeah, no, that. Yeah, we got a couple of it's now. Do you deal much in the THC side of it, or do you just stick mostly to, like you said, the hemp side? Because I know obviously you can grow both.
The only time I deal with the THC is after hours. So our business is completely about industrial hemp. Industrial hemp, has a very a minute part of the cannabinoids is THC. A little bit of THC is a really good medicine with CBD, because you get kind of a synergistic effect of all of the cannabinoids. So it's an important part of what we do, but legally it's a different set of rules, a different set of laws. There are so many people doing the marijuana business, and it's helped get the whole industry off the ground. But we're in it for transforming the world, transforming industrial society, and we believe that hemp can be a very big part of that, not only on the industrial side, but on the value-added agricultural side. Now, the farmers are not going to make money selling pure hemp technology, their stocks. No, they're going to make their money growing the seeds and selling the seeds and potentially the flowers. But we're going to take those stocks. We're going to have a supply of stocks. We're going to get them at a good price from the farmers, because they're making their main money on the seeds. And we're going to turn those stocks into bumpers, into bioplastics, into biochemicals that will replace oil-based chemicals, into building products, and on and on and on. So when those markets get going, it's going to be a green light to the growers to get growing.
Cassie's sold. She says she's ready to invest. Sign her up.
That's real quick. That's the key word. Bio. It's not plastic we have now that doesn't degrade. It's just ruining the environment. This thing, it goes back into the environment. My God.
So are you getting information from like the pharmaceutical industry that you're cutting into their profits?
Just the opposite. when we started selling CBD products in 2015 and 2016, the market share of the pharmaceutical companies in that small CBD market, 1%, 2%. 3 years ago, they might have had a 5% market share, but today, I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing their market share is about 30 or 40%. And as time goes on, the pharmaceuticals will really dominate the CBD area. So it's kind of just the opposite. They're taking off from the small pioneering companies and taking much more market share. However, it's going to be these small companies and these smaller brands that are able to survive, that will be able to make it in regional markets with specialty products, premium brands, organic materials. So, us small timers aren't going to go away, but we can definitely feel the heat of the pharmaceutical companies breathing down our throats. And a lot of what the pharmaceutical companies are doing, it's not like what we do with like pure hemp extracts and things. They are, making what they call in the industry isolates, where they isolate just the CBD cannabinoid and in a powder form. And that's what is being put into many of the pharmaceutical-based medicines. So we will always have the whole hemp folks and the whole hemp products as the pharmaceutical companies come in and really take market share from the smaller folks.
Nice. Now, kind of like a segue to get kind of like in the thing where we were talking about, because even hemp, it goes back, to your previous, what we were talking about, your previous book, The Secrets of Ancient America. This was something that throughout history, this has been used. Hemp. This isn't a new thing. This is something that thousands of years, this product has been used.
It's incredible that the pharmaceutical companies and the plastic companies that were pushing rayon and Dacron in the 30s were able to muster enough political power that they made this incredible plant illegal. And except for a very few years during World War II, it remained illegal to 2014. So it's part of the same conspiracy, if you will, of how our history is being presented, how any topic like hemp is being presented. And at the end of the day, I can tell everybody what most of us probably already know. From day one, we've been lied to. We've been lied to about our history. We've been lied to about what is our purpose for being here. We are not cogs in the economic wheel. We are spiritual beings here to progress and to make a better world for the future. And that somehow got lost here. And we are really doing our best to really find our way. And the Secrets of Ancient America book was a culmination of my research into some of the archaeology of North America. And the overwhelming conclusion is that we have been lied to, and that the story of our history has been mistold. And it's really has a lot to do with the conquest of the Americas, the destruction of indigenous cultures, and the pillage and the rape of the land. And to this day, that ideology of conquest continues around the world. And it's part of writing the book, Secrets of Ancient America, was at least an attempt to get some of our history right. And hopefully I've been able to make a contribution in that regard. One of the major aspects of my research and of the book was the Celts in America chapters, where we have evidence in many states, beginning in New England states like Massachusetts to Midwestern states like Kansas and Colorado, and other states, that the Celts from the Iberian Peninsula, which is now England and part of France, made it to America over the Atlantic Ocean, set up colonies, set up cities, set up trading routes, explored the Americas, left maps, left remnants of their culture carved in stone. There are places in 4 or 5 states where one can go to a cave or a rock art panel and see carved in the stone Celtic writing. And the Celtic writing can be interpreted, and embedded in that Celtic writing or nearby are petroglyphs. And the writing is talking about the petroglyphs, and the petroglyphs are talking about some type of a celestial event. So we're able to collaborate the writing of the Celts with the celestial event. For example, on an equinox, we might have an alignment that takes place at sunrise. So it's not just, hey, those are scratch marks. No, those can be read as ancient Celtic. And the message that they leave in the stone is tied to the celestial alignments at that particular site. And so when we try to present this evidence to the historians and the archaeologists and try to get them to change the dialogue, they won't. And to this day, many people are shocked to know that the Celts, and in addition to the Celts, the Romans, the Phoenicians, Chinese, I mean, many cultures not only visited here and explored here, but ended up settling here. So we're trying to set the record straight, and really the measure of our work, our collective work, is when the National Geographics of the world, the Smithsonian magazines of the world will do an article on the history of the Celts visiting America. But to this point, they deny they were even here.
And that's what's crazy. I mean, because that was one of the things I wanted to bring up to you, because I didn't even know about this, that the Anubis caves in Oklahoma. I'm like, here's one. People have always heard rumors about, ancient explorers have come here. You hear all this stuff. And then one of the things through reading your book and going through the stuff, like especially, I think it was 4 chapters that covered the Celtic explorers. I believe it was 4 chapters in that book. That as you're going through that and you're reading this, you have some of these things, and you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean there's sites in Oklahoma? There's sites in here that have this. I thought they just stuck over to like the Northeast. And then you're realizing, no, they were all over this continent doing stuff. I mean, if you want, for people that don't know this, we'll kind of go a little bit. We had a couple of questions. I think some people were surprised about the Columbus stuff too. But if you want to start with the Anubis caves, just how this is, I think you called it one of the equinox caves, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'll just mention that the book Secrets of Ancient America began with the mythology of Columbus. And there's just so much mythology around Columbus and the glorification of the conquest, the glorification of the destruction of Native American culture. And, in the last 10 years, I'm very pleased to report that many communities have, and some states have actually transformed Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples Day. And this is so important. And as part of our transformation of our culture and our transformation of our consciousness, because if we don't get it, that the lie of the conquest has resulted in a society that's ready to move forward with nature as the indigenous cultures were, we'll never get there. So part of the transformation that we all want to see happening is the understanding that we've been lied to, that how destructive the conquest was to indigenous cultures, and really a resurrection of respect for the indigenous people, the indigenous cultures, the history, but most importantly, for nature. And that's what's really been lost from the conquest, that nature is something to exploit, something to steal, something to make money on, something outside of us. That's the big dichotomy, that somehow nature is out there to be raped, as opposed to we are a part of nature. And
Yes.
I think that's what we're all working for. Certainly in the archaeology paradigms, we have to start with the recognition of the destruction of the conquest, and really make amends, not only to the environment, but to the peoples of the past and the future. Now, Craig, you mentioned Anubis Caves. Anubis Caves is a very sacred site in Oklahoma, and it's a Celtic Mithric site. Mithricism is an ancient religion that originated in actually India, but went to Persia and then came to the Celts. And the Anubis name refers to the Egyptian dog god. It's a dog, and there's a prominent Anubis at Anubis Caves. What the Celts did at the Anubis Caves was they left a record of the celebrations of the equinox, and in the writing. But more spectacular than seeing, Celtic writing, which is called Ogham, and us moderns can't read it, but it can be read, are the alignments that take place at sunset when the sun goes down at Anubis Cave, but they're also nearby sunrise alignments. And these alignments are quite spectacular. My mentor, Bill McGlone, who thoroughly studied Anubis Caves, calls it the silent opera, because what happens is when the sun moves across these petroglyphs is they begin to tell a story. The moving light and shadows and petroglyphs all kind of combine into a story that's not arbitrary, that's very precise. So on the day of the equinox in a nearby cave, at sunrise, there's Celtic writing that says, on the equinox, the sun strikes here. Sun strikes here. And sure enough, on the one day of the equinox, as the sun rises, it sends a ray into the cave, onto this panel, and right where it says strikes here, only for that day will it actually strike there. So again, we have the corroboration of the writing with the actual solar event that proves that the Celts were there. But we also have a sense of their cosmology that they encoded in these petroglyphs. And that's what makes it so fascinating. And that's what is so remarkable, that we don't have archaeologists clamoring to get into the Anubis Cave or into the Sun Temple or into any of these archaeoastronomical sites that prove the Celts were here. They will not go. They will not write about it. They will not research it. They are part of the archaeo-priesthood that wants to maintain that original lie of the conquest. Because as long as Columbus was first, there's some pride there, but Columbus wasn't first. Columbus was the last explorer, not the first.
Yeah, and I was going to talk about, I really liked your description, the archaeo-priesthood, the way you did that too, because one of those for America BC, had a profound, effect on you. If from the interviews I listened to, that this is one of the things that really kind of drove you to really trying to research this stuff. And, with those things like the students, because the writer, Barry Fell, he made some mistakes. Everybody can acknowledge the way he did it. I mean, even though his heart might have been in the right place, he might have had the right idea. He did it. When it comes to the scientific and community, there is a certain set of rules that you follow. And if you don't, God pray for you. You're not going to survive. But that was one of the things like I wanted to ask is like the students, because like you said, me coming out of college, why do I want to go to the same site that 20,000 archaeological students have already traipsed all over? Nothing new is going to be found in these locations. Yeah, it's a great place to look, but you're not going to discover anything new. Why not go, like you said, go to this Anubis cave where you're the first person to take it seriously, and you could write a paper and actually make a name for yourself.
It's just remarkable, and you make the great point that, where in the summertime you have all these graduate students and archaeologists going to conventional sites, and that's fine, but not too far away, or it's a Celtic site or a Roman site or, another sacred site that is too controversial. They won't be able to get their thesis published. Their university professors won't pass them. And this is how the archaeo priesthood works. And that's, why we're in the state we're in. Craig, I'm so glad you brought up Barry Fell. Barry Fell was a microbiologist, and like so many people in the field of archaeoastronomy, in the field of really reviewing history, he wasn't trained as a historian or as an archaeologist, but he made so many dramatic discoveries that he was superior in his intellect, in ability to present a new history of America, one that saw foreign travelers coming from Europe, across the Atlantic, Indus Valley civilizations coming across the Pacific to California, and even before then, the Phoenicians. And Barry Fell documented all these things, but he was ridiculed by academia. And yeah, his research methods were not, in many cases, up to snuff. But the throwing the baby out with the bathwater is murder.
Yep.
It is.
Oh yeah.
And he got the short end of the stick, but he's certainly one of the more remarkable diffusionists of the 20th century.
Yeah. And do you want to go ahead, Craig?
No, go ahead, Mark.
Okay. You just mentioned the Phoenicians coming to America. You also have a section on the Cherokee and Hebrew haplo X gene. Yeah, that's some pretty interesting information. And you also cover the Los Lunas petroglyph site in New Mexico, and nearby the hilltop looks like Masada from the air. There's a lot there with that information. Can you tell us a little bit about what this DNA tests are revealing about who was coming to America?
Okay, well, that's a can of worms. we'll do our best to dissect that very great question. There was a chapter in the book on Hebrews in America, and in that chapter, I cite several different artifacts that had pre-Hebrew scripts. I note several sites, including what Mark referenced was, I think, Mystery Mountain in New Mexico, and the Calelas relics from Arizona. So there was really ample evidence to suggest that Hebrews, different groups of Hebrews, did make it to America. And in the case of Calais, which was a community in Arizona settled by Hebrews that had escaped from, not clear in their writings, but had escaped from the Middle East and came to Arizona, presumably for silver, but to settle. These ancient relics that remain are a very interesting cross of early Christian writing, and most of the artifacts are written in Latin, adorned with Hebrew lettering and Hebrew imagery. So it's such a fascinating topic for a historian from the old world to see how the early Christians blended in a lot of Hebrew symbols, and this is all in Arizona. Now, you can't even see these artifacts in Arizona because they're locked up in the museum's vault. But the researchers have been able to get them. You can get photographs of them. I was able to look at them, and they allowed me to go in and visit and see these artifacts. And it's really an amazing chapter, not only of the new history of America, but from a historical point of view, that time in the 2nd century and the 3rd century, where you had this interesting mingling of the Christian and the Hebrew cultures. And, this is kind of the interesting case of America. And, I had previously mentioned the Mithraic cults of the Celts. The Anubis cave that Craig was talking about in Oklahoma, perhaps it has more Mithraic symbols and writing than any Mithraeum in Europe. In other words, the Romans destroyed all the Mithric temples in Europe, and they destroyed most of the stonework dedicated to the Celtic gods. They don't exist anymore except in museums. But you can come to America and you can see the Anubis cave symbols. You can see the Anubis, the god, the Egyptian god of the night. You can see the Sheila Nagig, one of the Celtic fertility goddesses. You can see the cosmology play out as the sun god dies as the sun goes down, and the god of night, in the form of the Anubis, is illuminated by the light. So there's so much here for historians, for researchers, yet nobody wants to really take a look at it. Now, in the case of the Hebrews, of course, the Hebrews are really have an opportunity to look into their culture in America, as do the Romans and the Chinese. But in the case of the Hebrews, there is evidence that the genetic code from some of the Native American tribes, including a Cherokee tribe, definitely has DNA evidence of from the Middle East. There hasn't been many more studies since the book was published, but this continues to be a great tool, a scientific tool to understand the new history of America. And we can see by the records, and in not just the DNA records, but in the petroglyphic records, of the mingling of these different cultures in America. For example, there's a group of red-haired Indians that spoke an Irish dialect. Well, they are no longer here, but there's a record of them. They, like so many Native American tribes, were wiped out by disease. But there is ample evidence that the different generations of Hebrews made it to the Americas, And the evidence in the form of coins, in the form of relics, in the form of petroglyphs, and the lead crosses found at the Kalela site in Latin are all indicative that the Hebrews made it here.
Yeah, and one of those, like April, she's like, she was really surprised that there are people, that there's, all these monuments to the ancient gods and goddesses, here in the Americas, and it's true. I mean, like these sites. I mean, there's one I was going to bring up with you too, the Pathfinder petroglyph, even though that's not really, doesn't really follow like with the Celtic thing, but just having that, how it depicts the creation, a story about creation in this, and this is a very very little known site because of it being a private, and it's hard to get into it, but still just that the depiction that this has on the wall is just, and these are some of the stories that when people look, and if we could actually get archaeologists to actually go out and do this research for a change, instead of just like, no, there's nothing there. It's like, I don't know how much more of an inscription we can get you that clearly says, for this stuff right here. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take.
Well, you mentioned the Pathfinder site, and I could see on the screen that one of our viewers, thought it was amazing that there are actually ancient goddess inscriptions and ancient goddess petroglyphs, and not only from the old world, but as I mentioned, at Anubis Cave, there's Epona is pictured on a horse, and the mother goddess Sheila Nagig is in a carved, so that it's just indistinguishable. That could have been a rock in Ireland. But the Pathfinder site is truly a Native American site. There's no foreign stuff going on. But what makes it one of the things that make it so exceptional is the depiction of the mother goddess, and she is pictured at this particular site, and it's quite a honor for any of us when we go to these sites. We have to take off our brain power and our concepts and really get down on our knees and pay respect to what we're seeing, because it's not just like we're seeing a petroglyph. No, we're seeing the depiction in art with an alignment of the creation myth of some of the Native American tribes. So as the sun rises on the equinox, a light show occurs, welcoming the equinox. But at noon on the equinox, the sun enters from a hole above at the top of the cave, and it sends a light beam across a 40-foot panel. And that light beam intersects the goddess, and at that one day of equinox, it is attuned to that goddess, and that light impregnates her. And the light goes through her, and it shows her two sons. And these two sons are the part of the whole mythology of some of the Native American people. So what we're seeing is not just a depiction of the goddess in this case, but we're seeing a light show story depicting how Father-Son impregnates Mother Earth to create the hero twins. So it's such a sacred site, such a sacred presence. And I just wish that we, humanity, could honor this site and allow the Native American people to be a part of this site, because it's truly part of a lost history.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing up the Pathfinder site.
Oh yeah, no, there's another one here. I wanted to share this here for people to see, because this is another one, the Bat Creek Stone. I'm going to pick the picture up there for
These
people
are
to see. And this is one
artifacts, in this case, of a Canaanite or a pre-Hebrew writing.
Yep, and that's it's one of those things where didn't they originally believe that this was Cherokee? Isn't that what one of the things that they described? Like they thought this was Cherokee writing.
Yep, and the first guy who looked at it from the Smithsonian said that's Cherokee, but it was an independent researcher who flipped it 180 degrees and said, no, that's Canaanite from the Middle East. So the example you have there on the screen is one of many different examples.
And that's one
Sorry
of those
about
things.
that.
It's
of artifacts from the old world, and it's not just writing of the Hebrews, but there's the writing of the Phoenicians that you can see in up in Maine and in Massachusetts. And you can actually, if you can read Phoenicians, you can see that they. I'm going to plug my computer in, you guys. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
You can see in Phoenician writing an inscription that says this is a landing port for Canaanite vessels, for Phoenician vessels. And that stone is now in the museum. And again, I don't know how many archaeologists have taken their time to go visit it as proof that the Phoenicians were here. But throughout America, there's many secrets to discover and many stones to unturned.
I was going to ask you about the Macintosh stone. Are you a firm believer in that?
Craig, you caught me off guard. Tell me a little about the Macintosh stone.
Oh, really? Yeah, Mark, you're a little bit more of an expert on this one too. Let me get up a picture here. Bring it for you here.
So you pass the buck to me.
Well, I'm getting the picture. It's like I'm getting a picture for him here. I was like, go ahead.
It's like the size of a Gatorade cap, and a quart or something like that, and it has hieroglyphs on it. Look like they were carved with a Dremel. It's very detailed.
Oh, look at that! Yeah.
Right. I can send you a few photos. After the show.
I don't know I don't know specifically about that stone, but in my book I do show a photograph of a stone about that size from Egypt. It's a scarab, and the smaller they are, the harder they are to find. But this is an example of an artifact, and I'm not in a position to say it's this or it's that. But I am in a position to say that there are many of these around that have been from different cultures and different locations that have been completely discounted by the archaeological community. And we really need to reassess the artifacts that are stored in boxes in the museums and really take a fresh look. So while I don't specifically know about that stone, I can tell you that there are literally hundreds and hundreds of artifacts with ancient writing from the Middle East, from Europe, from Asia, including Chinese writing. And that glyphs on that stone looked very similar to Far Eastern glyphs.
It was found in Michigan. It seems like there's some evidence that the 1430 Chinese circumnavigation of the world made their way into the Great Lakes maybe that stone was dropped and eventually washed up on the shore, and Ron Rademacher is investigating it. But I agree with you that
Right.
the writing on it does suggest Chinese characters, and there's the Nicholas's recent publication on the Chinese coming to America, staying in Cahokia. Maybe that could be part of another sample of the portable rock art that you've written about. And you have one article here in Ancient American Magazine, number 123. Do my little Vanna White impression.
That's right.
But
Let's go over there.
you do have some of your own photos. There's, but you do. I know the radio listeners can't see it, but Chastity can. But what did these you describe them as being worked with some kind of tool? What did they symbolize for the people carrying? Then they seem to be decorated.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for bringing up the topic portable rock art, because it's the latest area of my research, and the segue from the stone that we had on the screen before from Michigan. Generally speaking, we could call that portable rock art, but it would be more of an inscription. When we speak of portable rock art, we're not talking the 1400s. We're not talking the time of Christ. We're not talking thousands of years ago. We're talking tens of thousands of years ago. And we're talking about an ancient tradition, not just in North America, where the indigenous people adorned stones with art. And these stones included their tools. Now, this is not acknowledged by any major institution or credible archaeologist like the New History of America. They won't go there. But when the museums of the world are re-examined, what we're going to find is that many of these functional tools, for example, are actually pieces of art with carvings, images, petroglyphs, and they're quite abundant. What I believe happened is that this was the oldest form of art, where the artisans would take a stone that they saw that inspired them, and they would make it into a piece of art. And it's not just a totem, these are very complicated artistic creations that use the whole art to the whole rock to create many different interrelated images, like the petroglyphs at Anubis Cave, that tell a story. And what's most amazing is, like you would think, you go out and go arrowhead hunting, and unless you're a great arrowhead hunter, or unless you come across a cache of arrowheads, they're pretty hard to find these days.
Oh yeah.
But I'm here to tell you that portable rock art is not hard to find. It's hard to identify because they're covered up and they're almost in the field, indistinguishable from any rock. But if you look at the shapes and you become familiar with the artistic styles, what we're learning is the abundance of portable rock art, and the tradition goes back thousands of years ago. And it's just now, from what I can tell, being rediscovered. And it's one of those areas where we have lost history. There was some disconnection between the cultures that were creating this art as a tradition over thousands of years ago, and it stopped. Now, I believe that that tradition continued right up until the time of the conquest. But there are other people who think that the tradition ended with the catastrophic bombardment of planet Earth, the Great Flood story. But that's not important. What is important is that there's an abundance of portable rock art. It tells us a lot about the creators, and really most importantly, and this is phenomenal, it presents a whole new artistic style. I mean, literally, Picasso, move over. I mean, the kind of art that you're seeing in these stones is multidimensional, literally multidimensional art. So it's something that a continuation of my research with the Secrets of Ancient America, exploring this ancient art style, trying to understand why it's been lost to us, to give a perspective of how to read the art, how to read the rocks, and really do our best to pass along something that is so much of a connection for humanity. I mean, literally in portable rock art, what we're seeing is a connection between the ancients, the present, and the future, all wrapped up in nature. So these portable rock art pieces created by the ancients, now being rediscovered by us, the moderns, are gifts for the future. And it really is a wondrous tool to help all of us understand the intimate relationship between the ancients and nature. And heck, maybe we're going to learn something about how to relate to nature. And Lord knows we really need that. So portable rock art, I think you're going to be hearing more and more about it. I'm going to be continuing to write about it. And there are some really great researchers that have portable rock art sites, and you can see some of the art. And I could talk about it all day. So thank you so much for bringing it up. I think it's a very important aspect of the new history of America.
Yeah, as you're describing all that, I was scrolling through and showing people the pictures and stuff on there too. So that worked out pretty good. Kind of, I was able to feel like I was being part of the show. And so
I'm glad it really came across well. Thank you for putting that on there.
Oh, you're welcome. That was really fascinating. Those are a couple articles, and those you can find those two articles if I'm not mistaken. Those are on your site, New History of America, correct?
That's correct. newhistoryofamerica.com under rock art, and there's several articles there, as well as other articles that I've published on archaeoastronomy and petroglyphs.
Well, Carol, Carol. I just said Carell. God. I even told
You're
myself
good, man.
as I was coming.
As long as you don't call me sir.
I know. I was going. This is one of those Freudian slips. The whole time I'm telling myself, "Don't say Carol. Don't say Carol. It's Carell. Carell." And what did I do? Immediately just went right into what I told myself. So Carell, thank you so much, everybody. Check out, you can go to Amazon. If I'm not mistaken, there is a link on your site to Secrets of Ancient America, Archaeoastronomy, and the Legacy of the Phoenicians, Celts, and Other Forgotten Explorers. And that's newhistoryofamerica.com. And you can also, in the beginning of the show, we really got into it about hemp, which was fantastic. And go to purehemptech.com and purevisiontechnology.com. to find more information about, Carell's work there, and fantastic stuff, sir. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, this was so much fun, and you almost inspire me to get a beard. Then it could be 4 beards instead of 2.5. But no, seriously, thank you so much. The work you do and the work on alternative radio is so important to bringing the truth out. You just cannot get this kind of information on conventional news and conventional media outlets. And as I said, a measure of how successful we collectively are is when the National Geographics, the Scientific Americas of the world start publishing articles on the secrets of ancient America that are no longer secret.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't, I hope that happens soon, because it's a real tragedy that this stuff has just gone unnoticed and, refused to look at.
Well, I would like to not only thank you guys, but also offer good journeys and thank you to your audience. And I'm pleased to be in communication with anybody who wants to be in communication with me. So good journeys to all.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
You too.
That was a lot of fun tonight.
It's awesome.
Mark, Eddie, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, sir. Thank you. That was great help, especially when I threw you under the bus and made you just suddenly describe the Macintosh stone at last second notice. I was just right. I got solely focused on, getting over to that. So, all right. Well, this episode was brought to you by Nanny Cakes. Go to Nanny Cakes 407 on Facebook, or give her a call at 407-928. I can't see it. My thing's frozen. So you're going to help me out.
It doesn't matter if you can see it or not. She's been a sponsor.
There it is. 923-2898. I know. Why can't Hey, I just got done talking to that guy not to say Carol, and I said Carol. And I said, it's supposed to be correct. So I'm like, come on. Oh, hey, this would not be
Hey,
show
you guys are great.
Messing up something.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Oh man, so go support Nanny Cakes for being willing to sponsor this. I'm not sure why. So we appreciate that. Go ahead, Bart.
And we need to thank Intertraditions for connecting us to Corel.
Intertraditions and Bear Company. Yep. This was a fantastic interview. I really enjoyed it. Everybody like, subscribe, share. When you see these shows, if you wouldn't mind sharing them, this really helps us out. It also gets the word out for these authors, musicians, whoever we have on. It really helps them out as well. And we really appreciate all the comments. That was great. It's if people say it's frozen, like mine just is for some reason. I don't know what it is. I think it's because my son just absolutely just dogs the internet with his games. So I think that's why everything's frozen on my end. But everybody, 3beerspodcast.com. This show will be rebroadcast tomorrow at 8 p.m. at Patriot Radio. Download the Zeno Radio app, courtesy of JJ Beard Company in New Jersey. So go to jjbeardco.com. Thank them for being willing to put us on their show. We really appreciate that. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We don't do the TikTok thing yet. We haven't got there yet. So, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fishing.
So Carl Lehrburger, Corel, thank you so much. And, go to newhistoryofamerica.com. Check him out. Also, like I said, the book, Secrets of Ancient America, Archaeoastronomy and the Legacy of the Phoenicians, Celts, and Other Forgotten Explorers. Also visit him at purehemptech.com, purevisiontechnology.com. And you can also, Ancient American Magazine, you can also see those articles that I was scrolling through there as well as his site, the newhistoryofamerica.com, where you can go to rock art and you can see those pictures as well. So thank you everybody for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.